Okay, let's jump right in. We're going to unpack something that honestly looks like it crawled straight out of a horror movie. We're doing a deep dive today on one of nature's most, well, visually shocking organisms,
hmm
Hydnellum peckii,
hmm
or as most people know it, the bleeding tooth fungus.
Yeah, if you've seen pictures, your first thought is probably, yikes, you know? It's kind of squishy looking, it's got these pores, and it genuinely looks like it's oozing blood, thick red droplets. It really messes with your idea of what a mushroom in the forest should look like.
Totally. Like some weird alien organ, or maybe
Yeah.
something went very wrong in a butcher shop. But that initial, revulsion, that's exactly what we need to get past today. Our mission here is to take this thing that looks, frankly, kind of vile and show you why it's actually a bit of an ecological hero. We'll get into the science behind those crimson tears and, crucially, its huge, mostly unknown role in helping our climate.
It really is defined by these extremes, even the names, right? Devil's tooth, strawberries and cream, bleeding tooth. Someone described it as metal as mushrooms get, which feels pretty spot on. And classification-wise, it's in the Bankeraceae family. Now that might sound technical, but this family, known for tough, often inedible fungi. So that immediately tells you it's dense, structured, not like, a soft little button mushroom.
And it's not hiding in some remote jungle either. You find this in older forests, mountainous spots across North America, Eurasia.
So, okay, let's tackle the visual first, because that's what grabs you. Why tooth fungus? What's that about?
Ah, right. That's about how it makes its spores. It's what's called a hydnoid species. See, most fungi use gills or pores, but this one, it has these little tooth-like spikes hanging down under the cap. It's all about maximizing surface area so the spores can drop down easily. Kind of neat, really.
Okay, teeth make sense, but the bleeding, that's the showstopper. And you mentioned something key, it's temporary.
Exactly. It's fleeting. If you find one doing the bleeding thing, you're seeing it in a very specific short window, like it's just a phase.
Totally correct. It's just going through a phase, only happens when it's young. The young cap has this soft, velvety texture, like tiny hairs, and that's when the red liquid comes out. But once it matures, that velvet layer goes, the bleeding stops, and you're left with this smooth, kind of lumpy, beige mushroom. Honestly, pretty unspectacular, as one source called it.
Right. Okay, so let's get into the science of that red stuff. It's definitely not blood. So what is it? Physics involved, you said.
Indeed. It's simply extracellular fluid. Basically, water pushed out from inside the fungus because of pressure. The technical term for the process is guttation.
Guttation. And what builds up that pressure?
Well, it usually happens when the ground is really saturated, like after heavy rain. But critically, it happens when the air is too humid or maybe too cold for the fungus to release water vapor through transpiration.
Ah, okay, so it can't just sweat it out, basically.
Exactly. Transpiration stops, but water keeps getting pulled into its root system, the mycelia, just through osmosis because the ground is so wet. That water keeps coming in, builds up pressure inside, way too much pressure. So to relieve it, the fungus basically has to squeeze the excess fluid out through tiny pores on its cap. It's like a safety valve.
Wow, so it's literally crying to release pressure. That's wild. And you mentioned this guttation thing. While it looks crazy here, it's not unique to this fungus.
Not at all, no. Lots of plants do it, especially in humid conditions. Think young grass shoots like wheat or barley. Even strawberry leaves sometimes get little water droplets on the edges. What makes the bleeding tooth so dramatic is the color. The fluid itself starts clear, but as it gets pushed out, it mixes with this really vibrant red pigment that's just stored inside the fungus tissues. Boom. Crimson tears.
Okay, so that leads to the big question. Why the red? Is it just there, or does the color do something? Red usually means warning in nature, right?
Researchers think it's likely doing a couple of things. Defense is a big one, yeah? That bright red screams, "Don't eat me, I might be poisonous," or at least taste awful, deters bigger animals. But there's another idea. Maybe it attracts certain insects, ones that help spread its spores. They come for a drink, get covered in spores, fly off.
Clever. And despite looking like the deadliest thing in the woods, it's not actually lethal. Just disgusting to eat.
That seems to be the case. It's incredibly bitter because of some complex chemicals. So yeah, eating it would be unpleasant. We definitely don't recommend it. But it probably won't kill you like some other notorious fungi. It's a great example of what's called aposematism, warning colors working effectively without needing to be truly deadly.
Okay, fascinating. Let's shift gears now. Move past the surface drama, the part we see. Because the really mind-blowing stuff this fungus does, it's happening underground, unseen. In this massive network, we're going from just a weird forest thing to something impacting the whole planet.
Exactly right. This fungus is mycorrhizal. Only about 10% of fungi do this, form these symbiotic links, but they're absolutely vital for forests. And the bleeding tooth, it partners up specifically with coniferous trees like pines and firs.
Okay, so explain that partnership. What's the deal they have going on underground? What's being traded?
It's like a microscopic marketplace down there. The fungus spreads out its web of tiny threads, the mycelia, far wider than the tree's roots ever could. It acts like an extension of the root system. And it's brilliant at breaking down tough stuff in the soil, especially nitrogen and phosphorus, turning them into forms the tree can easily absorb.
So the fungus is like a nutrient broker for the tree. And what's in it for the fungus? What does it get back?
Energy, pure and simple. The tree does photosynthesis, right?
Yeah.
Uses sunlight and takes CO2 to make sugars. It sends some of those sugars down to its roots and shares them with the fungus.
Right.
It's fuel for the fungus to grow and maintain that huge network. It's a real survival pack, totally dependent on each other.
And the scale of this network,
Yeah.
it's not just around the mushroom cap, is it? How big are we talking?
Oh, the mushroom you see is just the tip of the iceberg, literally. The vast majority is underground. Studies have tracked these mycelial networks stretching out like 3.5 meters. That's over 11 feet away from just one mushroom. Now imagine that multiplied by potentially billions of these fungi in a single forest. The scale is just immense.
Right, and that scale connects to the global picture you mentioned. This isn't just about feeding trees anymore. It's about the climate. What's the big aha moment from recent research?
The realization is just how much carbon these vast, ancient mycorrhizal networks built by fungi like the bleeding tooth are storing. We're talking about carbon the trees pulled from the air, turned into sugars, and then basically pumped down into the fungal network for its growth. It gets locked away down there.
Locked away. How much are we talking? Can they even measure that? What does it mean in, like, real-world terms?
Well, the latest figures are pretty staggering. The consensus is these networks hold something like 36% of the carbon dioxide equivalent released globally from burning fossil fuels each year.
Wait, 36% of our annual fossil fuel emission?
Yeah, 36%. That works out to about 13 gigatons of tech CO2, locked underground by fungi. Just think about that.
Yeah.
It's more carbon than the US and China emit from fossil fuels in a year, combined, held by these hidden networks.
That's genuinely profound. This weird-looking fungus, and others like it, are quietly acting as this enormous carbon sink, buffering us against our own emissions.
But there's always a but, isn't there? The irony is that our activities, the ones creating all that tech CO2, are also hurting these fungi.
Exactly. We're undermining the very system that's helping us. The main threat identified is nitrogen pollution.
Nitrogen. How does that get into forests?
Two main ways. First, from burning fossil fuels. That releases nitrogen oxides into the air, which then fall back down onto forests, sometimes as acid rain. Second is agricultural runoff. Excess nitrogen fertilizers used on farms wash into rivers and groundwater and eventually reach forest soils.
And what does all that extra nitrogen do to the fungus-tree relationship? It messes it up completely. See, the fungus's main job for the tree is getting nitrogen. If the soil suddenly becomes flooded with easy-to-get nitrogen from pollution, the tree doesn't need the fungus for that anymore. So the tree effectively stops paying the fungus. It cuts off the sugar supply. And the fungal network, starved of energy, starts to decline, even disappear.
Wow. So we're essentially breaking the deal. We're short-circuiting one of the planet's most important natural carbon storage systems.
Yeah.
Right when we need it most. Scientists must see this as a huge red flag, right? About the health of the whole forest ecosystem.
Absolutely. It's a major warning sign. Losing these fungi doesn't just mean less carbon storage, which is bad enough. It signals a fundamental imbalance in the whole forest microbiome. It could have cascading effects we don't even fully understand yet.
Okay, deep breaths. Sobering stuff. Let's maybe end on a slightly brighter note. Are there any direct human uses for this fungus aside from its massive ecological job?
Yeah, there are a couple of interesting ones. First, dyeing textiles. You'd think with that crazy red sap, it would make a red dye, right? But no, when you use it to dye fabric, you actually get this really nice, durable beige color.
Beige. Seriously. Okay, well,
that beige base is useful. You can mix it with other things like iron compounds to create these beautiful, stable, blue-green dyes that are apparently quite popular in natural dyeing.
Huh? Okay, unexpected. And what about medically? That sap looks potent, is it?
It really is. It contains a specific chemical called atromentin, and researchers are really interested in this stuff. It seems to have two key properties. First, it's a pretty good anticoagulant. It helps thin the blood, prevents clots, kind of like heparin, which our own bodies make.
An anticoagulant from the bleeding fungus? Nature definitely has a sense of humor.
Doesn't it just?
Ah.
And second, atromentin also shows strong antibacterial properties. There's potential, they think, for using it against some nasty strains of bacteria, like those causing certain types of pneumonia. So yeah, it's a little chemical factory down there, too.
What a roller coaster this deep dive has been, seriously. We started with something looking repulsive, almost sinister. And we ended up with this incredible chemical resource, a vital forest partner, and, maybe most importantly, a massive, world-saving carbon sponge.
I think the big takeaway is just how critical that hidden world under our feet is, these fungal networks. They're doing some seriously heavy lifting on global issues. Protecting them, which means protecting healthy forests, has to be part of the climate solution, right alongside cutting emissions.
Absolutely. So, now you know. One of the weirdest, maybe most off-putting things you might stumble across in the woods. It's actually working, silently, to lock away more than a third of our yearly fossil fuel mess. Next time you think about nature's balance, maybe spare a thought for the invisible heroes underground, like this little bleeding mushroom doing the really hard work. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other crucial, unsung biological players are out there that we're overlooking or maybe even accidentally destroying?